much for agreeing to tell us more about how you're using the active learning classrooms.
Well, thank you for having me.
So what are you doing with them? How's it affecting students and their learning?
So I think I've been trying to get more activities done in the same lecture time. Previously, in absence of these classes, I was more inclined to lecture for the predominant duration of the lecture time, the 1 hour, 15 minutes. But with the availability of these classes, I've opted more to micro lecture. So now a lot of my lectures finish within 20 minutes, 30 minutes. And then for the remainder of the 45 minutes, I try to break it up between maybe some games on their smartphones. They might not really be games, they're more like educational apps. So sometimes they have a game, like a real game component, and sometimes they're just, apps which are educational. And they can connect that on the screens and they can share, their feedback among each other. So you get more pure evaluation. They kind of, evaluate the content and share ideas among themselves, and a little bit of problem solving. So they can, as a team, be given a problem statement, let's say on a PowerPoint slide, and then every group would go to its own screen. They would put up the whiteboard, and then they would come up with a solution strategy by themselves. And what I do is I just walk around the different groups, basically there to scaffold whatever they're trying to do, so I can give them some feedback, answer their questions, give them some hints. And also because they're working on the white screens, which are really large, you can also refer what's happening in one group to another group. So you can tell them, look, what's going on there. This is like a nice idea, a nice approach. So you can actually get a lot more ideas. It's as though you're tapping into many, many more brains within the 1 hour, 15 minutes than previously you would have done as a lecturer. So that's basically the main strategy. A lot more activities in the 1 hour, 15 minutes.
I like that idea of tapping into all the brains, because usually, yeah, you don't know what they're thinking of while
Right.
you're talking to them until you see their exam results or something.
Yeah, exactly. It's a very delayed response time in the original approach. Now I actually get an opportunity to hear their questions, and oftentimes different groups will not ask the exact same question. So it's more directed in actually giving them the feedback they need to get into an answer. One of the actually interesting things that also helped me is because I'm seeing them solve so many problems or so frequently, I also, as an instructor, got a better sense of how long it would take them to converge on a solution. So typically in engineering problem solving, you would have 3, 4 steps to get to the right answer, which they have to figure out and kind of build on top of each other. So when I observed them, if I gave them 15 minutes, you would find maybe one group would give the correct answer. And then if you give them 20 minutes, it's like 2, 3 groups. And then if you gave them like 35 minutes, pretty much every group reaches the right answer. So that's actually a good thing to know, that they have it in them. Just give them enough time, and just understanding what it means to be enough time. Before I use like a rule of thumb, like if it takes me maybe 10 minutes, I'll give them 40. But then that rule of thumb is about as arbitrary as I said it. I mean, there's no fundamental science behind that.
Right.
So at least now I get more of that feedback.
That's so interesting. And also because you say they have different questions, it's the kinds of barriers that make it harder for them to finish fast.
Absolutely.
Different and
Yeah, so because like the courses I teach are not exactly introductory courses, they build on some prerequisites, and then different groups will have members within that group that are better, better able to recollect what happened in that course, who have maybe some experiences, they have some interests that allow them to overcome some of these barriers, perhaps not others. So you do get very interesting questions, especially in this prior knowledge area, that try to sort out some of what you thought or what you would claim should be prior knowledge, and then you discover that no, they actually need some support.
right, and they misunderstood it or they were misapplying it or something.
Correct, yes.
So then this leads me to another question, which is related to, are you seeing a difference in how well they're working in their projects and exams, or are you now giving different projects and exams because of what you're already doing in class?
So I try to keep some things unchanged so that I have like a continuous reference across cohorts. And I usually try to keep that at my examinations, the quality of the questions I ask. And one of the things that I discovered like semester after semester working in this active learning is that there's a big distinction between the amount of explanation I give versus their abilities. There's a big distinction. I don't have to provide 100% explanation. I could provide 80%, and they'll still arrive at the ability to solve the same exam questions, whatever level of difficulty. So you don't have to compromise there. But now that I've seen them much more active, I'm able to assess a lot more about group work, about the dynamics of teamwork, about their interpersonal communication. So I actually bought in some rubrics from the NSF that actually look at that. They call it ellipse. So they actually have some nice rubrics, very simple, very brief, so you don't have to overthink anything. But they give some nice pointers that I can offer students as feedback. So that's one aspect. The assessments have changed a little bit, and that also opened up for me a new way of thinking about projects. So I try to put in more open-ended questions after solving the very nice and sophisticated and complex engineering problem. Try to give things a little bit more context by literature survey. So the nature of the question, if in any sense, it became the same level of technicalities, but with a lot more, I think, a lot more other activities which are, say, more engaging and more relevant to real world applications. And because they're doing a lot of work in front of me, I'm actually able to guide their project work a little better. So I'm actually able to ask for a little bit more. So I've given a very long introduction to kind of justify why I'm giving them more to do in the project. Yeah, but I kind of keep it safe in the tests area. But one of the happy things is I thought micro lecturing would have affected how far I can go. And yes, I have cut back some fat here and there when you're reflecting on what you teach. But I was actually able to add extra topics, and I was able to add extra depth in certain areas. So it's actually it's a very interesting and dynamic thing. And every semester I change so that maybe there are some common, of course, themes, which are the learning outcomes, but at the same time, how we get there can evolve quite dramatically, I'd say.
All right. Thank you so much, Khalil, for sharing. Is there anything else you want to say before we go?
Well, thank you very much. I just wanted to add that it's not just the learning outcomes and the students. It's actually fun for me as a professor, and it's less exhausting because I get a much better sense of what's going on in their heads. Like you mentioned, I actually see these questions and I'm able to answer on the spot. So I kind of feel I'm more effective as a human being, and that's itself a very satisfactory thing. But it's also very challenging because you can see there's so much more that can be done. So it's a very exciting experience for me as an instructor as well.
Thank you so much, Khalil.
Thank you very much, man. I appreciate it. Thank you.